I came across an article recently that made me stop scrolling. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was quietly unsettling. A group of Buddhist monks are currently walking across the United States for peace. And yes, it's symbolic. It carries meaning, but it's also very real. They're committing their actual physical lives to this, their time, their energy, day after day, mile after mile, more than 2,000 miles from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rachel, and I am really glad you're here. Now, some of you may have heard about this already. I hadn't. And once I did, I couldn't really let it go because it's kind of fascinating. And because the fact that this feels unusual should tell us something important. Now, let me say this plainly. Yes, it's symbolic, but it's also a warning. They're not doing this for attention, really. They're not trying to gain power. They're not campaigning. They're not fundraising. They're not demanding anything. They're walking because the world feels out of balance in a way that's getting harder to ignore. Not just in news cycles, in everyday life, in conversations, in the way people talk to each other, in the way so many of us are just tired in our bones. And this isn't a loud protest. This is prayer in motion, devotion in motion, really. It's human compassion on foot. This is serious, and it matters. The walk is roughly 2,300 miles, obviously on foot, over several months. They started in late October, and they're walking straight through the winter. They expect to be done, I think, mid-February. Through unpredictable southern weather, cold mornings, rain, wind, sudden drops in temperatures, long stretches of highway, clearly not designed with human beings in mind. Not exactly ideal conditions for a long, reflective walk, which I think is kind of the point. This isn't comfortable, it's not convenient, and it's definitely not performative. Along the way, they're holding reflection gatherings. They offer blessings. They talk. They invite people to walk with them, even briefly. And then they keep going. They're practicing their faith publicly, in real time, in real places, and that alone is meaningful. But it does go deeper. These monks don't carry money. They don't buy anything. They don't ask for anything. Food, water, shelter, warmth. They rely entirely on the kindness of the people they meet. They eat one vegetarian meal a day as part of a long-standing discipline of humility. They sleep outside when it's possible and when they have to, under trees, on the ground, unless someone offers a place. There is logistical support in the background, yes, but the monks themselves are still out there, step by step, fully exposed to the world. This isn't just a symbolic idea of peace. This is vulnerability as a practice, and this is not their normal life. Now, yes, Buddhism has a long tradition of walking, pilgrimage, mindful traveling, but public pilgrimages of this scale are rare in modern America. Monastic life is usually quiet, contained, inward. This is the opposite. This is deliberate exposure, vulnerability, physical effort as a message. When spiritual communities leave their places of contemplation and walk into the world, it's usually not because things are going well. It's because something fundamental feels fractured, which is why this isn't just a story. It's a signal. And I don't think we should soften that or turn it into something poetic just because that feels nicer. I mean, it is beautiful, but it's also a warning because monks don't usually leave quiet spaces to walk through highways in unpredictable weather unless something in the world feels deeply out of balance. And I don't think it's just their sense of it. I think a lot of us feel it, not as a headline, but as kind of a low-grade unease that lives in the background of our lives. And the vulnerability of the walk isn't hypothetical. It's very real. In November, while they were walking through Texas, a truck hit their escort vehicle, and the vehicle was pushed into the monks walking nearby. 2 of the monks were injured. One of them was hurt so badly that he required a leg amputation, apparently. The other monk fortunately recovered. And after surgery, after trauma, after something truly life-altering, the spirit of the walk didn't collapse. The meaning didn't dissolve. They're still walking, not out of stubbornness, out of conviction. And for me, that says something about the power of what they're doing and the harshness of the world they're doing it in. We live in a time when most messages come through screens, through outrage, through certainty, through commentary and performance. And here are these monks choosing something entirely different. They aren't shouting, they aren't arguing, they aren't trying to persuade anyone of anything. They're walking, which is a strange thing to choose in a culture that values speed, certainty, and reaction. Walking is slow, it requires presence. It forces encounters, and it asks something of the people watching. Not agreement, but attention. Human beings moving through a country quietly. And if peace has to walk physically, vulnerably, across an entire nation just to be noticed, what does that say about the volume we're all living in now? One of the most powerful parts of this journey is the reflection gatherings. They're not rallies, they're not debates, they're not platforms for hot takes. They are quiet. People stop, they breathe, they sit with themselves and with each other. And maybe that alone tells us something important. Maybe people aren't missing information. Maybe they're missing space, because we have normalized reaction as a way of life. We react to headlines. We react to strangers. We react to noise that has nothing to do with our real lives. Reflection is different. It asks, who am I becoming in the way I respond to the world? What kind of presence am I bringing into it? Am I shaping the noise, or is the noise shaping me? And woven through all of this is something incredibly human. This entire walk only works if kindness still exists in the real world. Not performative kindness, not internet kindness, quiet kindness, meals, shelter, a blanket, a bed, conversation, compassion. They are moving through America on trust. And the fact that that feels risky, that it feels fragile, that a peaceful walk has already resulted in life-altering injury, that should make us pause. We have built systems to track, ensure, micromanage, and control almost everything. Meanwhile, this walk depends on the one thing we don't design for very much anymore: trust between strangers. And that's not just touching, it's confronting. Because if monks have to walk across America just to remind us that compassion, community, and basic humanity still matters, that tells us something about where we are right now. This isn't performance. This isn't content. This isn't spectacle. This is a living reminder that something in our shared emotional life is not working the way it should. And that is serious. It's rare. And yes, it matters. I don't think this walk fixes the world, but I do think it holds up a mirror and asks us something important. What does it say that slowness now feels radical, that silence feels unusual, that simply walking peacefully can feel like protest? Most of us are not going to walk across the country, but all of us are walking through our lives. So maybe the question isn't, how do we become them? Maybe it's just, where could I invite a little less noise and a little more intention? Not to disconnect from humanity, but to stay human inside it. I don't know what the world will ultimately do with a group of monks walking across America, but I do know this. The fact that it feels rare, the fact that it feels fragile, the fact that it feels extraordinary should make us pause. And sometimes pausing is the most human thing we can do. Thanks for being here. Take care of you, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.